Hi, this is a review of bigger batter conversions from the bigger batter conversions FIP quiz. So we're going to start out, this is just going over the questions. So we're going to start off with the first question on the back. And you're asked to convert 768.90 kilograms per cubic meter into grams per cubic centimeter. So obviously we're dealing with a density conversion here. And of course, as always, we start off with our given. Now, it's important to remember that when we have a derived unit, such as a kilogram per cubic meter, you want to make sure that you put one unit on the top and one unit on the bottom. Because what we're saying is that in every 1 cubic meter, there are 768.90 kilograms. Now, it's also easier because we're going to be using scientific notation if we go ahead and convert our given to scientific notation right away. So this becomes 7.6890 times 10 to the second kilograms in 1 cubic meter. All right. Now, we can start off by converting either the kilograms or the cubic meters first. I'm going to choose to go with the kilograms because they're the simplest one. Kilograms are one-dimensional, so we are just saying that 1 kilogram is equal to 10 to the third grams. And remember, your power of 10 always goes with your base unit. So if we stopped right there, our kilograms would have canceled out, and we would end up in grams per cubic meter. But we need to go one more step, because we're looking for grams per cubic centimeter. So we know that cubic meters have to go up in this area and that cubic centimeters have to go down there. Well, the important part to remember is that 1 cubic meter is actually 10 to, whoops, I just screwed it up. 1 cubic centimeter is actually 1 times 10 to the negative second meters cubed. So I find that the easier way to write that is like that. So it gives me a visual reminder that I'm cubing that. So now, if I look at my units, that cubic meters is canceled out by that meters times meters times meters. And if I stopped right now, I would end up in grams per cubic centimeter. Okay, so time to do the math. So I have 7.6890 times 10 to the second plus 3 plus negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2. So many different ways to skin that particular beast. But what we end up with here is to the negative first. Those two are 5. That whole thing is negative 6. So we end up with 7.6890 times 10 to the negative first grams per cubic centimeter. Now, we do want to look at how many, okay, and we didn't do anything that altered the number of significant figures we had. We're keeping all of those numbers. Okay, that's the first one. Let's do the next two. So we're being asked to convert 194.1 meters per second squared into kilometers per hour squared. And we're obviously dealing with acceleration in this case. We start off, as always, with our given. And again, because it's a derived unit, we want to make sure that we put the meters in the top and the seconds in the bottom. Now, again, it makes it much easier if we convert this to scientific notation right away. So we have 1.941 times 10 to the second meters per second squared. And now it does not matter if we do the kilometers or the seconds, or the meters or the seconds first. I'm choosing to do the kilometers, again, because they're one-dimensional. So we're going to have meters on the bottom to cancel, kilometers on the top to go into, and of course 1 kilometer is equal to 10 to the third meters. Just using your powers of 10, and remember, power of 10 always goes with the base unit. So now I can go into hours squared, and this one is, there's an easy place to trip yourself up here. So I know that I want my hours squared to be on the bottom, and I know I want my seconds squared to be on the top. Well, there are 3.6 times 10 to the third seconds in 1 hour, but this is seconds squared. So it's 3.6 times 10 to the third seconds times 3.6 times 10 to the third seconds. All right, so if we check our units, meters cancel, we're in kilometers. Seconds squared is canceled by seconds, and that leaves us in hours squared. This is a quick form of dimensional analysis, just checking to make sure what units cancel and that you end up with the appropriate units. All right, let's do our math. So I have 25.15536 times 10 to the fifth kilometers per hour squared. Of course, I have to do a couple of things. It's going to have to be put into correct scientific notation, and it's going to have to comply with the rules for significant figures in terms of what I can keep. Let's get it into correct scientific notation. Well, actually, no, let's round it first. So I know that I can keep 4 digits, 4 significant figures, and this will be my fourth sig fig, so I'm going to round that based on what comes after it. That gives me 25.16 times 10 to the fifth. And if I want to make this correct scientific notation, I'm going to have to move the decimal over to there, giving me 2.516 times 10 to the sixth kilometers per hour squared. And that would be our final answer. Okay, moving on to the last of our bigger, badder conversion problems. All right, so we're dealing with volume now, and you've been asked to convert 2.34 cubic millimeters into cubic kilometers. Again, we start with our given. And notice that this is not a derived unit in the same way as the other ones were. It's still a derived unit, but we don't have any one unit per another. So everything here exists on the top of the factor label box. Now we go through the base unit because we always, when doing a conversion, go through the base unit. In this case, we're going to go from cubic millimeters into meters. So 1 cubic millimeter is 10 to the negative third meters times 10 to the negative third meters times 10 to the negative third meters. So if we check our units at this point, our cubic millimeters cancel, and we would now, if we stopped, be in cubic meters. But we don't want to stop in cubic meters, we want to go on to cubic kilometers. So if we take 1 meter cubed and strike that. Knowing that we're going to have our cubic meters on the bottom and our cubic kilometers on the top, the thing to remember is that 1 cubic meter, 1 cubic kilometer is not 10 to the third cubic meters. In fact, it's 10 to the third meters by 10 to the third meters by 10 to the third meters. So what do we end up with? Well, 2.34 times 10 to the negative third plus negative third plus negative third minus 3 minus 3 minus 3. It's a lot of 3's and a lot of negatives. So we end up with 2.34 times 10 to the negative 18th. Oops, we forgot to check our units. Well, meters, 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 meters all cancel. We end up in cubic kilometers, and that is our final answer. Okay, if you need any more help, please see me or email me, and we'll continue to work. Thanks a lot.